Alrighty folks, I am working on some stuff this morning. This is going to be a Mark 8. Milling machine's already going. It's, prepping up the inside of a Mark 8 right now. This is just the rough frame milling. We're going to get some noise from the mill in the background here. I am going to actually, instead of filming that, we're going to be working on some blade grinding. I figured I'd take you guys along for this. This is a Hinderer XM18 blade. This is from a Skinner, 3.5 inch XM18. The customer sent me this because he wanted to have some work done on it, customization work. I don't take a whole lot of this sort of stuff, and I don't do a whole lot of this sort of stuff, especially not blade regrinding for customer knives, but I looked at the thing and I was like, man, these knives, especially for Skinner knives, they have got such stout edges on them. I mean, it's really thick behind the edge, so we're going to regrind this and get some better performance out of it. I've got my 120 grit belt here set up. It's a brand new Blaze orange ceramic belt, and that's going to help me do a lot of this rough hogging. I'm doing this by hand, guys, so I'm not going to mess up the heat treat. Don't worry about that. I'm going to get some more water here, and then we're going to grind it. Nice hollow grind on it, like Rick does with his custom stuff. It'll basically look like a custom XM18, and it'll perform like a custom XM18, but it won't be, $2,000. Typically when you buy them on the secondary market, they're very, very expensive, and this is going to be a much more cost-effective solution. Sorry about all the mess. I've been kind of remiss in cleaning up here. Let me extend the legs here on my tripod, and we'll get to work. So like I said, I'm going to start out with a 120 grit Blaze orange ceramic belt here. This is just for basically marking the sides. Now, Rick's done the vast majority of the work that I need done on this particular blade. With a flat grind on here, it's pretty easy to go ahead and hit the same bevels. I'm going to try and basically keep it within the same sort of envelope here. I don't want to use too much more space on this blade than what I have to. I want to basically just thin out the edge a little bit. So I've got my belt real close to a rubber contact wheel here, and I'm going to go real slow, real deliberate, because obviously I don't want to screw this knife up. That would be really bad. This is like a $500 knife, and I don't want to have to pay $500 to my customer to replace it. So I'm just going to go real slow. Got some music in. I'll run a time lapse on this, and you can watch me grind. Okay, so here we are. This is rough ground. Now there's going to be some imperfections in this grind. We're going to smooth that out once we go up to the 180. And I'm going to go from here to with this Trizac CF, or this Blaze orange to a Trizac CF belt. 180 grain, or grit. Thinking guns. Yeah, I know. It's early in the morning, I haven't had enough coffee. Well, actually I have. I don't suggest you try grinding like this if you haven't had your morning cup of joe. But don't drink so much that you start shaking, because that's bad. Okay. There we go. And we'll smooth everything out, make it nice and pretty, and then we're going to go to, I think, a 320 and then a Scotch-Brite. Okay, here we are. This is 180. Looking good. So now you can tell the edge is much thinner. So when we go back to actually hone this thing and get it to an actual edge, I took the edge off before I started here just for safety. This thing's going to be way better. Alright, I'm going to switch over to a 320 and then I'm going to do Scotch-Brite to nice and polish it up and make it pretty. Alrighty, we're going to hit it with a 320 and then I'm going to get Scotch-Brite out and polish it up. You can tell I'm running at a pretty low speed here, by the way. I use a Beaumont KMG, that's my grinder. It's pretty much the AK-47 of grinders. It's built like a tank and pretty much it's very, very simple. But I did get the version that has a variable speed on it, and that's a really big help. If you just have one single speed, that's a problem. You know, you might heat your steel up too much. For doing things like this where I already have a hardened blade, and I do grind hardened, this is way better. You can more easily tell what's going to happen with the steel. You got more control. You don't have to worry about it heating up so much and burning your fingers. Just better all around. So, what we have before we even hit this on a Scotch-Brite, and the Scotch-Brite's just going to make everything nice and even, but you can see that is now a Moon regrind. The edge is super thin now. It's not so thin that I'm going to be worried about it breaking or anything like that, but this is a Skinner knife. That's what Rick sells these as, the XM18 Skinner. And when you're skinning, you want a good sharp edge, so you can separate the skin from the meat, the muscle and sinew of whatever animal you're skinning. Usually it's deer, or I guess some people do wild boar and stuff like that. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, so I don't touch pork, but you know, deer is one of those things that is deliciously tasty. And let's see here. We'll go ahead and hit it with Scotch-Brite, and this will even out all the grinds, make everything nice and pretty. So there you saw it. Let's have a look here. Here we go. Looking good. So I switched over to a flat grinding platen because I'm going to work on the swedges up here. Now Rick puts some sort of, I guess, decorative swedges up here, but I'm here to get the most out of this blade. I want to get the tip a little bit thinner. I think that this real broad sort of diamond cross section here is fine, but it neglects a possibility that this knife might be used by somebody as a defensive carry. And I think it'll pierce a little bit better if I kind of add some swedges up here to the tip. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my 120 again, and basically just create a longer swedge that's going to come down and go to the tip here. And I think it'll look really cool. It's real quick, and that's pretty much what I was going after. It's a longer swedge now. It extends to the tip, and that's going to give us a lot thinner edge at the tip. It's going to give it some, for want of a better term, armor-piercing characteristics. That's what I'm going for here. Now I'm going to go up to a, this is what's called a Norax belt. I like these for doing flat grinding because they have a very consistent feel to them. The abrasive is very consistent across the whole platen. They have a finer grain structure to the actual abrasive itself. We're going to go up to, this is a 220 right here. This looks good. All right, Scotch-Brite next. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and clean up these grinds just a little bit. There's some, stray edges or stray abrasions from the Scotch-Brite, and then I'm gonna set and finish the flats here, and we'll be good to go. All right, so here we are. Got my stop pins pressed back in there. I had to use the aid of some Loctite to keep everything nice and secure. Sometimes the holes for these stop pins get a little reamed too much on XM18s, and so you have to kind of put a little bit of extra Loctite on them. I actually polished off the sides of it just flat, and I stuck it in the clamp, and I also smushed it, so it should be a nice, very, very sturdy fit in there. I was seeing it was a little bit loose, so I don't really like press fit stuff. I think it's kind of old technology, and frankly, you won't see it on my knives, but some other people use it. That's what Rick's using today, so that's what we're doing. So it works. It's a way of doing things. Not really my way of doing things, but it works. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this sharpened up and mounted back on our frame.